Chapter 5 Victorious in Fiery Trial. Daniel chapter 3 speaks of abiding character. There is a saying that true saints are made of gold. When gold is thrown into a furnace, it does not get burned, it only gets brighter. When trials come, we will know whether we are gold or not. If we are made of gold, we will shine, but if we are clay, wood, or hay, we will get burned. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. Isaiah 43:2. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then an herald cried aloud, To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And whoso falleth not down and worshippeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Daniel 3:1 and 4-6. This is a picture of the tribulation period, when the Antichrist will set up an image and everyone will have to worship it. Those who do not will be killed. Read Revelation 13:15, 16, 18. We find the number 666 in the text here also. The height of the image was 60 cubits, that is 6 cubits, and the breadth 6 cubits, and 6 types of instruments are mentioned. Directly or indirectly, we find the number 666. The power of music. Music is connected with worship. Worship of God and worship of the devil too. Be not drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. Ephesians 5:18-19. Music has a power that none of us understand. The snake does not obey the charmer, but swears to the music he plays. Music has the potential for stirring up a person for good or for bad. Psalm 32:7 reads, Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. If there are songs of deliverance, there must also be songs of bondage, songs that bring us into bondage. We must therefore be careful of the type of music we listen to. In Ezekiel 28:13, which is a reference to the fallen cherub, music is mentioned. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that was created. Reference to music is also made in Isaiah 14:11 when speaking of Lucifer. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy viols. The true and divine purpose of music is to worship God, but sin entered the picture. Lucifer, the master musician, fell, and music also fell with him. Satan still has the ability to create music, and he desires worship through music. His music is what is captivating the minds of young people around the world. There is a peculiar beat and rhythm that invites the devil. People lose complete control of their body and senses when listening to such music. Many musicians have sold their souls to the devil by getting high on drugs. Some rock stars get the words and music for lyrics from voices which they hear when they get into drug-induced trances. One artist is known to practice biting of heads of live doves in front of the audience. The whole audience goes wild when they see him doing this. Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones has said that he deliberately presents himself as a personification of the devil. One of the songs, Sympathy for the Devil, has become the unofficial anthem for satanic movement all over the world. We have been chosen to praise God and worship Him in holiness and sing songs of love to our Father. Parents should check on the type of music their children listen to. Listening to wrong music can lead to problems and even murders. One young boy who was regularly attending Sunday school and was the leader of his class started listening to the wrong type of music. His father was in the army. One day, provoked for some very little thing, he took his father's gun and shot his father, his mother, and the servant boy. Soon after that, he felt very sorry and started crying. He repented of what he had done, but he could not reverse his actions. He now writes from prison and wants all parents not to allow the children to listen to the type of music he listened to. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Daniel 3:13. The select rapture. Although there were millions of Jews there, only 3 refused to bow to the image. Similarly, at the coming of the Lord, many spiritual Jews, that is, children of God, may be left behind to go through the tribulation period. I tell you, in that night there shall be 2 men in one bed, the one shall be taken and the other left behind. 2 shall be grinding together, the one shall be taken and the other left. Luke 17:34-36. Some say, if I am not ready at the coming of the Lord, it does not matter. In the tribulation period, I can refuse to take the mark of the beast and become a martyr and somehow go to a corner in heaven. Dear child of God, do not be deceived. The Antichrist will compel people to take the mark. He had power to cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in the foreheads. Revelation 13:15-16. If in the grace period we cannot live for the truth, how can we stand for Jesus at a time when there is no more grace? Many Christian churches give the teaching that to be raptured at the secret coming of the Lord, it is enough if one is born again. But the truth is, only a glorious church that has no spot or wrinkle and is holy and without blemish will be raptured and presented before Christ. Ephesians 5:28-27. Only a few teach the truth, always a minority. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was want to be heated. Daniel 3:19. Anger makes you unsteady. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to worship the image, Nebuchadnezzar was upset. He became furious. His face changed. He commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times more. Anger is a terrible sin. If we have no victory over anger, we will be unsteady in our spiritual life. When Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar his dream and interpreted it, Nebuchadnezzar had said, of a truth, your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings. But now we find him changing and commanding the people to worship the image he has set up. Anger made King Saul unstable and unsteady. At one time he would be full of love for David, and at other times full of murderous rage. At times he would be sorry, but then again he would change his mind. Once in a fit of rage he commanded, bring him, David, up to me in the bed, then I may slay him. 1 Samuel 19:15. Later, when in a sober state, he said with great feeling, is this thy voice, my son David? 1 Samuel 24:16. But it was not long before he was again after him in a hot pursuit. Nebuchadnezzar's face changed when he got angry. So did Cain's. Face shows character. When we are angry, our character is affected. Cain in his anger murdered his brother. If we do not get rid of anger, it will ruin not only us but others also. Suppressed anger is worse than expressed anger. If we have the spirit of anger, we must repent so that God can fill our hearts with his love. Only then can we live a steady Christian life. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O King. But if not, be it known unto thee, O King, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Daniel 3:17-18. Be ready to die. We find that deliver is the key word in Daniel chapter 3. We see here how godly people can be delivered, how godly people should wait for deliverance and the glory of deliverance. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were ready to die. It is better to be cast into a fiery furnace for standing for the truth than to be cast into the lake of fire for denying the truth they decided. Blessed be God who sent his angel and delivered his servants that yielded their bodies, the king says, verse 28. It is when we are willing to die for the truth that the deliverance comes. It is said that only those who are prepared to die for the convictions can save their own lives and that of others. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. Matthew 16:25. In the New Testament, we have to die every day. St. Paul said, I die daily. This is willingness to give up our comforts, willingness to give up certain things in order to please or satisfy God or to fulfill the will of God. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego watched unmoved as the furnace was being heated 7 times more than the normal heat, and as Nebuchadnezzar had their hands and feet tied. They were determined to die for the truth. The reason for a lack of growth in our spiritual life, the reason why God is unable to fulfill his plan in our life is we are not prepared to die for the truth. God says, gather my saints together that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Psalm 55. When we make a covenant, we should be willing to shed our blood, be willing to go through any trial or suffering for the sake of fulfilling or satisfying God's command. It is better to be cast into the fiery furnace with God than into the lake of fire without God. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Daniel 3:21. God knows how to deliver us. A great spiritual truth is revealed in the above mentioned verse. God did not deliver the Hebrew children from the fiery furnace, but in the fiery furnace. God allowed them to go through the furnace. There are 2 ways of deliverance. God may save us from being thrown into the furnace or save us from the fire when we are in the furnace. Sometimes God may not deliver us from the trial, but he will certainly deliver us from the wrath of the king, from the hands of the devil. When we are victorious in our trials, we have victory over Satan. God permits trouble, and in the trouble he delivers us. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. Psalm 91:15. God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. 1 Corinthians 10:13. He knows just how to deliver the godly out of temptations. 2 Peter 2:9. John Bunyan said, our trials are like Samson facing the roaring lion. It was about to devour Samson, but after he conquered it, he got sweet honey out of it, which he was able to eat and also give to others. Every trial is first like a lion roaring against us to destroy us. However, when we have overcome it, we find honey in its carcass. It will bring us a sweet experience. Going through the trial is hard, but looking back on it afterwards and considering the way God delivered us is a sweet experience. What would it have been like if God had told Abraham, go to Mount Moriah, bind your son and just raise the knife. I have kept a ram in the thicket, and I have told an angel to stand there and stop you from killing your son. It would not have been a trial at all. It would have been a drama. But God did not say anything to him, and we know how faithful Abraham was wonderfully delivered in the trial. So, dear children of God, when we go through trials, God does not tell us what He is going to do or the way He is going to deliver us, but we know that our God will deliver us. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. Psalm 34:19. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Daniel 3:22.